Good morning, everyone. This is BremSter, and today I'm coming to you with a rip-off. Well, the puzzle is called Rip-Off. It's sent to me by Raumplaner, and he said that this would be an easy puzzle. I've been struggling a little with motivation recently. There's been just some stuff going on. And Raumplaner said, here's a nice, easy, classic Sudoku for you to feel motivated by. So I'm going to give it a try. This bypassed the queue. This did not come through the queue. This has not been through testing. I have no idea. Raumplaner sent me a puzzle, and I'm doing that puzzle. Raumplaner's awesome, and definitely has been one of my friends in the Sudoku community for quite a while, and has been supportive and helped me for years now. So Raumplaner, send me a puzzle. I'm going to do the puzzle. Is it a rip-off? Let's find out together. The rules on this one are going to be very, very easy to go through. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Ta-da! So yeah, all of the digits 1 to 9. So every single box, all of the 9 boxes, we will put 1 to 9 in each of the boxes. If you're new to Sudoku, this might be a great video. Like if you've got someone, I have no idea on the difficulty of this puzzle. I've been told it's nice and easy. So if you've got someone who's trying to get into Sudoku, this may be the puzzle for it. So have a look at this video and maybe this is the one to send them. So in every single box, we have to put all of the digits 1 through 9 without any repeats. So every box will contain all of the digits 1 through 9. The same is going to be true of every row. So this row, we're going to have to put all of the digits 1 through 9. We cannot repeat any digits. The same is true in this row, the same is true in this row, and the same is true in all the columns. So when the puzzle is completed, every row will have 1 through 9, 1 through 1, 9, 1 through 9, and every column will have 1 through 9, and every box will have 1 through 9. There'll be no repeats, so of course they won't be in the same order because that would cause repeats. And what you have to do is you have to use all of those conflicts caused by those repeats to figure it out. So let's have a look at the puzzle. I'm going to restart the puzzle to restart my timer. I really don't care about times when I solve. A lot of people do, but that's how it works. Let's give this a shot. So what can I see? So the first thing I can see is happening with ones, and it's happening because of this one right here. So this one, as you can see, and I'm going to do this from basic principles, assuming that there might be people coming to this video who've never seen Sudoku before. So this one is looking across and saying we cannot put a 1 in any of those cells there. This one here is looking up saying we cannot put a 1 in any of those cells there. So we cannot put a 1 in any of those cells that I've highlighted. These two cells here can't have a 1 because they've got other digits in it. So in this box, we know 1 has to be in one of those two cells because these ones can't contain a 1 because then we'd conflict with that one. These two cells can't contain a 1, they would conflict with that one, and these are already filled. So 1 must go in one of those two cells, which means in this column, we know that the 1 is going to go in one of those two cells. So we can never put a 1 in any of those. So in this box now, we know we can't put a 1 here, or we wouldn't have a 1 in this box. We can't put a 1 here, it would conflict with that. This has a 3, and if we put a 1 here, there would be two 1s in row 2, and that doesn't work. So this is a 1. It's very tempting for this puzzle, and I'm not sure if it's actually going to work. If I show row and column label, yeah, you can kind of see that. I'm just going to quickly move this. I know I'm already recording, and I try not to move the puzzle when I'm recording, but I'm going to assume this is coming for people who've never seen a puzzle before, and I'm going to try and work with that. So I could see the same thing happening down here in row 5, and because of the 1 here, this is row 2, column 3. This one is taking 1 out of those. This one is taking 1 out of those. These are already filled, so 1 is in one of those two, which means I cannot put 1 down here. I cannot put 1 here. This is filled, and this one is taking 1 out of there. So this becomes a 1. Now, there's a couple of different types of noting we use. Now, you might be wondering why there's 1 in the top corners of these cells. Now, this is what we call Snyder notation, but basically these are corner marks. And what that means is any digit in a top corner means that it is generally with a classic Sudoku, one of 2 places in a box, and we're talking about within a box here. You normally don't do it for rows or columns. When you get to more advanced Sudoku, you might, but you be careful about how you do that, where a digit can be placed. There were only 2 places in this box I could put a 1, so I put in those corner marks. You might do it with 3 if it was a very hard puzzle, just so you can keep track of where you've eliminated from, but normally you try and keep it to 2. But I can do the same now in boxes 2, this is box 2, box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4, box 5, box 6, box 7, box 8, box 9, because I can see that one can't be here because of this one can't be here because of this one, and this one looks up saying one can't be here. So I've only got 2 places I can put one in box 2, and I could do the same down here in box 8. One can't be here, one can't be here. This one takes it out of here, so one is in one of those 2. And I've got, these are called X-wings. I'll go into that if it becomes needed, but these are the only places I can put one in the puzzle. And if I was to get this one, I would know that is a 1 because that one would eliminate that one, for example. Okay, let's look at what's next. I could see 4 has 2 places in box 4 because that 4 takes 4 out of there, that 4 takes 4 out of there, that's an 8, so I can see I've got 2 places for 4. I have no idea whether that's correct. I can actually place 4 in box 8. That 4 takes 4 out of all of those, that 4 takes 4 out of all of those, that 4 takes 4 out of there, and that's a 6. So this becomes a 4. And I can keep going with 4s. This 4 takes 4 out of all of those. This 4 takes 4 out of all of those. That's a 1, and that 4 takes 4 out of there. So that becomes a 4. I can now look up here. 4 is not in those. 4 is not in those. 4, that's a 5. So 4 is in one of those 2. Does that continue? Doesn't seem to. I've got 4 places for 4 in box 1. I wouldn't mark that. Now, this is where I might do, there's concepts here that I might want to play with. Like this is a triple. And often when you get down to a triple, and I'm actually seeing a lot of stuff happening here. But when you get down to a triple, if you're solving on a computer, what you might want to do is you might want to mark what that triple is. Now, I can see straight away that digit there is a 2. And why is that digit a 2? Well, in this row, I haven't placed a 2 yet. And you need to put a 2 in every row. Every row, column, and box must contain all of the digits from 1 to 9. But I don't have a 2 in this row yet. This cell here, so I've only got 3 places I can put the 2 because the rest are all full. This cell can't be a 2 because there'd be 2 2s in the column. This cell can't be a 2, there'd be 2 2s in the column, so this has to be the 2. Now, in this row, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So these 2 cells have to be 8 and 9. But I've got an 8 and a 9. So this one has to be the 9, otherwise I'd end up with 2 8s, and this one has to be the 8. Now I want to look at these triples. Now, the reason they're called triples is because there'll be 3 digits, and this is what I was going to do earlier. I can turn around and say, I know what these 3 digits have to be, and this is where you can use what's called center marking in order to list what the options are. I know that, and it's one of the options in the control panel for the puzzle. Now, the puzzle will be linked below. I forgot to say that earlier. But there'll be 1, 2. If 3 is one of the possibilities, I've already got a 4 and a 5 in the column. I don't have a 6. I don't have a 7. I do have an 8, 9. Now, the reason you use center marking is when, rather than corner marking, a corner mark, as I said earlier, will normally be used when you have only a couple of places in a box where you can place a digit. A center mark is where you are marking for a particular cell. Now, I marked it for 3 cells here because all of these 3 cells have the same property, but you mark for a particular cell that only certain digits are possible in that cell. We know that these cells cannot have 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, or 9 because it sees them in the column. So using the column, I was able to restrict those down to 3, 6, and 7. However, I can restrict them a lot further once I start looking at the rows, because this cell cannot be a 3. So I can take a 3 out of there. Now I can immediately say now, well, the 3 in this column has to be in one of those 2, because where else is 3 going to go in the column? But here I can say that's not a 7 because it sees a 7. Now I think that's as far as that particular triple takes me. However, I've got another triple over here. This sees 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't see 5, 6, and 7. So 5, 6, and 7 is all that's possible here. I already have an 8, 9. Now this one can't be a 5 or a 7, so that's a 6, and then I can take 6 out of both of those. This one sees a 5, so that becomes the 7, and this becomes the 5. Now that 7 now looks back and sees that 6, 7 pair, which means that has to be the 6, looking up, and I can take the 6 out of both of those, which now has left me with the only possibility here is 3, and this becomes the 7. And this is where your pencil marking can be incredibly powerful. So, and as I said, I'm solving this hoping that if new people see it, if you're an experienced solver, you're going to be plowing through this video. You're probably done, this puzzle, probably done by now. But if you're new to Sudoku, hopefully these concepts will be interesting to you. This row, I can see now, I'm looking at, and the reason I'm looking at these particular rows and columns is I'm looking for rows and columns where I already have a lot of digits placed or a lot of information that I can work off. This row, I need to place 9 digits, but I've already got 7 of them. So I know that I've only got to find 2 more digits, and maybe those digits are restricted. And I can see they are, because the digits I haven't placed here are 2 and 9. So these 2 digits are from 2 and 9. Now, I didn't have to pencil mark those, because I can see right now this cell can't be a 2, because I'd be repeating 2 in the box. So that had to be 9. I could have used the same logic here with this being a 9. This has to be a 2. Now, none of that has come down, but I still have this triple here. So this triple, I've got 1, I don't have 2, I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so it's 2, 8, and 9. So this cell here sees a 9 and a 2. So that one becomes the 8, and I wouldn't have had, if I'd marked this earlier, but I'll remove the 8 from here while I'm thinking about it. If I'd marked this earlier, I wouldn't have had that 2 and 9. So this is where you have to find the flow of the puzzle to figure out the order, and you start where it's most restricted and go from there. And that's often the trick of a puzzle. So these become 2, 9, but the 2 that I've already found here looks up making that the 9 and that the 2. And that's how puzzles that look like they've got no information in them can often come to reveal their tricks. And now, because I've done a lot of Sudoku in the past, I can see that that cell there has to be a 5. How can I see that? Well, this is it's what we call scanning, and I'm notoriously bad at it. But I could see this 5 is looking down, taking 5 out of those. This 5 is looking down, taking 5 out of those. I could have pencil marked those 3 as 5s, or those 2 as 5s at the start of the puzzle, because this 5 would have taken 5 out of there. So this was a pair of 5s at the start. But now that I've got that 5, that can't be a 5, and the only place left for 5 is there. So this is now a triple, and you can, I previously only marked triples in rows and columns, but you can also mark triples in boxes. I've got 1, 2 in the box, I don't have a 3. I've got 4, 5, I don't have a 6. I've got a 7, I don't have an 8. So these 3 cells can only be 3, 6, and 8, and one of them must be 3, one of them must be 6, and one of them must be 8. Now this one can't be an 8 because it sees an 8 in the column. I'm not sure that's helping me further than that. And that could be my scanning failing. That happens when you're solving Sudoku. Okay. And this is where I might go back to marking pairs, because I can see 3, 3, and 3 are knocking 3s out of all of those. So those have to be a 3. I didn't need to use that 3 because these are all full. So those 2 3s are knocking 3s out of those. So 5 is in one of those 2, because this 5 is knocking 5 out of those. That 5 is knocking 5 out of those. 7 is in one of those 2, because of this 7 knocking 7 out of there. Out of those 2, sorry. And that means that 7 has to go in those, because that's already got a 3 in it. Am I up to marking quadruples yet? I'm hoping to avoid it, but I might be. This is a 1-5 pair. So we can see that this box doesn't have a 1 or a 5 in it yet. So there's no 1 or 5 in this box yet. But I cannot put 1 or 5 in any of the cells that already have digits in them. But these 2 cells here both see 1 and 5. So both 1 and 5 are restricted to those 2 cells. So that is a 1-5 pair. Now, I know that I can't put 1 or 5 in either of those cells, because if this was a 1, both of those would have to be 5. It doesn't work. So now I've theoretically, I don't know where the 1 and the 5 are, but they are placed in this box because this is a pair. If one of them is 1, the other one is 5. If one of them is 5, the other one is 1. So I know that I can count this as 1 and 5 already placed in the box. I just don't know the order. So I can say I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't have 6, I've got 7, I don't have 8. So this becomes a 6-8 pair, and this 8 tells me this is the 6 and this is the 8, and that gives me more information. I don't know if it helps me. It means that one of those 2 is 8, and it means one of those 2 is 6, for all of the reasons I've stated before. I'm wondering if I want to continue looking at these quadruples. So what am I missing in this box? And often what you can do when you get down to quadruples is like what I've done with the triples. You can mark all 4 possible digits that would go in. But I don't need to in this case because this box is missing 3 and 6. So you can see I've got 1, 2, 4, 5, and 8. I don't have a 3 and a 6 in the box. But the same as with the 1, 5, I can't put 3 and 6 in those cells. So this becomes a 3, 6 pair. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't have a 7. I don't have a 9. So this becomes a 7, 9 pair. And that 7, 9 pair, I know that 7 must be in one of those 2 cells. So if I was to put a 7 there, these would both be 9. I've repeated 9 in the column and I'm broken. So there's no 7 in that cell. If I put 7 there, I would have broken the puzzle. So now where can 7 go in this box? Now this is where the corner pencil marks become incredibly important because I had 7 pencil marked into 2 options in this box and I just removed one of them, which means I cannot put a 7. There's only one place for 7 in this box. Now, I can go back and see that I can't put 7 in any of those, and because of the logic I just had, I can't put 7 there. So this has to be a 7. But if you're working on a harder puzzle and you make a really tricky deduction, getting a digit down to 2 places, and that's what your corner marks are helping you with, and you remove one of those options, you don't need to redo that logic. You remove one of your corner marks and you just place the digit in the one that's left. So I can go in and I can put a 7 there. Now, I just put the 7 over an 8 pencil mark. And I know I've only been pencil marking where I had 2 options. So I've removed an 8 pencil mark. So without even thinking about why, I can go back up and I can put an 8 in that cell because it's the only pencil marked 8 I've got left in that box. And if you are consistent with your pencil marking, you will be able to do that. Now, I can go back and prove that this is the only cell because I've got the 8 looking at those and that was the only empty cell. But if you are on a harder puzzle, you may not be able to easily see why you've done it. It may be logic that you did 20 minutes ago and you may not be able to remember it. But so that's where your corner marks can become incredibly important. These 2 digits must be the 2 digits that are left for the box, and those become 2 and 4, the only 2 digits I haven't placed in this box now. Not seeing what they're doing for me yet, but I will get there. So where am I looking now? I'm actually finding it much harder to scan because I'm explaining first principles, and explaining first principles is really slowing me down. But I'm hoping that people will find this video valuable. I know I'm enjoying the puzzle. So this is another quadruple. So I'm looking, where can 2 go? 2 can only go in one of those 2 because this 2 eliminates from here. So I've gone 1, 2. I'm now looking at 4. 4 can actually go in all of them. I wouldn't mark that. 5, 6 can go in all of them. And then 9, right, and I've got exactly the same thing. So I actually didn't have a restriction on 4 and 6, but what I do have is I have 2 and 9 that need to go into one of these 4, but the 2 and the 9 is looking up. I can't put 2 or 9 in here, so this becomes 2 and 9, being the only places I can do them. And now the 4 and 6, which had all 4 squares to go in, can only go into those 2 squares because the 2 and the 9 have been forced into those, meaning the only places left over for the 4 and 6 are in those 2 cells. This is, for experienced solvers, these would be making these deductions in seconds. But if you're new to Sudoku, this puzzle may actually be really tricky because you don't see why 4 and 6 are restricted to those. Because that 4 and 6 is now incredibly powerful. Because you know that the 4 and 6 must be in one of those 2 cells in the column. They look down. If I was to put a 6 there, both of those would be 4, and I've broken the puzzle. So this now can no longer be a 6. This has to be the 3, because the center pencil mark was telling me it could only be 3 or 6. And then I can take the 3 out of those, and this becomes a 6, 8. And this is going to be incredibly powerful in this column. Because now, while I don't know where the 6 and the 8 are in this column, I know that this must be 6 and 8. So now I can count the digits in a different way. And this is going to be incredibly powerful. I can already place that, but I'm going to explain from first principles why it's the case. In this column, I now have 1, 2, I don't have 3 or 4, but I've got 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now, I don't know the exact positions of the 2, 9 or the 6, 8, but I know I've got them. The digits I haven't placed in this column are 3 and 4. So this must be 3 and 4. But because of my pencil marks, I could also use that 4. But because of my pencil marks, where I said 4 has to be in one of those two cells, I can't put 4 there, because in this box, 4 must be in one of those two cells. So this must be the 3, and this must be the 4, and I can take the 4 out of those. This now becomes a completely different pair. The only digits I haven't placed in this box are 1 and 7. I could have used the column logic for that to approve the 3 and the 4, but I wanted to use this because it's a little bit more tricky, and I want to step up the logic I'm explaining rather than use the same trick over and over. This becomes 1 and 7. Now, where am I looking now? It's good because I feel like this is ramping up in difficulty a little bit, and I'm not sure what is next. I kind of want to look at box 8 because of the boxes where I don't have these down to pairs, and I'm just confirming I haven't got anything I can resolve by me scanning badly. I do. This 3 looks over, making this the 6, and that makes this the 3. This 6 looks back, making this the 8 and this the 6. And once again, now I have a lot more information to play with in this box because this is a triple. I don't have a 2. There must be a 2 in one of those because there's no 2 in this row yet. I can't put it there because of the 2 already in the box. 2 must be in one of those 2. That 2 is looking down saying that's not the 2. This is the 2. And all that's missing in this row now is 7 and 9. So this must be 7 or 9. Now this box is missing 4 digits. I'm missing a 1, which I know is in one of those 2. I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The other digits are 7, 8, and 9. So there must be an 8 in one of those 2 because I can't put it there or there, and I can't put it there because it sees 1. So these are 1, 7, 8, and 9. So this is only 1 or 9 because it sees 7 and 8. So I can put a center mark in here of 1 and 9. It's perfectly fine to have center marks and corner marks at the same time. So I know from this marking that 1 must be in one of those 2 cells, but this cell here can only be 1 or 9. So if this becomes the 1, this will become the 9. If this becomes the 1, all I know is that's not a 1. That is 7, 8, or 9. I'm not sure what that's telling me. I'm looking for the next deduction, and I'm trying to do it in a way where I can explain basic concepts. I see. So where is 2 in this central box? 2 can't be in those cells. The 2 here means it can't be in those cells, and that 2 means it can't be there, and that's an 8. So this becomes a 2, and now I've got a quadruple in this central row. And more importantly, I can ask myself the question. Now, I could mark the whole quadruple, which is 1, 3, 5, 7, but because I know it's 1, 3, 5, 7, I'm actually going to do it that way because I think it's how beginning solvers might do it. But I could immediately see I haven't placed a 3 yet in this row, and I can't put a 3 there, so that was a 3. But if I'd gone through and said I've got all of the digits except 1, 3, 5, and 7, I could have turned around and said, well, I can't put a 3 there. Now I've got what's called a 1, 5, 7 triple. So the 1, 5, and 7, if I put a 5 here, that takes 5 out of all of those. But basically, because I've got 3 cells that contain 3 digits, if I was to put a 1 here, I would run out of digits to complete the row. That triple means that I cannot use those digits in any other cell in the row without 3 digits in 3 boxes. Basically means like a pair, where with the 1, 5 here, if I'd put a 1, 5 anywhere else in the column, I would have run out of options. The same thing is true with the triple in 3 cells. So this can't be 1, 5, or 7, and the only option left for it is a 3. The other way to look at that, of course, is where does 3 go in this row? The only option with the empty cells, that couldn't be a 3 because of that one, that couldn't be a 3 because of that one, and that couldn't be a 3 because of that one. But I'm trying to explain the ways that you can use this logic. This one can't be a 1 because there's a 1 in the box. Now, this 3 looks up taking 3 out of here. I've removed a 3 pencil mark, so the 3 goes here. I just removed a 5 pencil mark when I put the 3 in, so that becomes a 5. The 5 looks down, making this the 7, and now I can resolve this whole row. The 7 looks across, making this the 1. The 1 looks up, making this the 7. The 1 also looks across, making this a 5, which looks up, making this a 1. Now, this is a triple. Now, at this stage of a solve, I'm just going to mark the triple. This is what I would do if I was solving. I'd say I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't have a 5. I don't have a 6. I've got a 7 and an 8. I don't have a 9. Now, I've already got a 5 in this column, so I'd remove the 5. In this column, I've already got a 6, so I would remove the 6. In this column, I've already got a 5, so I'd remove the 5. And now I can see in this box, those two cells have to contain the 6-9 pair. So where do I put the 5? I put it right in the middle. Now I would look at this column and see that all I'm missing, I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All I'm missing is this also has to be 1, 9 because it's all that's missing in the column. Don't know if that's helping me, but it's what I would see and what I would mark. That cell is very, very cool because I can see from the row that it has to be 2, 4, 6, or 9. So I've got 1, 3, 5, 7, and 8. So this is 2, 4, 6, or 9. However, in the column, I've already got 2 and 4. So I can take 2 and 4 out of there. Now you may turn around and say, but that hasn't done much for the column. Like I could still go 6, 9, 2, 4, or I could go 4, 2, 9, 6. And you're right, from the row perspective, that's done very little. But in the column, I now have a 6, 9 pair, which means that I cannot put 6 or 9 into either of those two cells in the column without breaking the puzzle, because I would repeat the other digit. If I put a 6 here, both of those would become 9 and I'm broken. So now in the column, if I count my digits, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of those is a 6. I don't have a 7 or an 8, and the other one is a 9. So this becomes a 7, 8 pair. And that's important because that sees that digit. So this becomes the 8. This becomes the 7, and all of a sudden the whole thing feels to me like it's going to fall apart now. Because while that 8 isn't jumping out at me as doing anything, that 7 in the box sees that cell. So that becomes the 9. That becomes the 7. The 7 sees that, which makes that the 9. The 9 looks across, so that 1, 9 now has to be the 1. The 1 looks up, making that the 9. That took a 1 pencil mark, so that becomes the 1. The 9 looks up to where that was and makes that the 6. The 6 looks down, making that the 9. But this is all because of pencil marks. I could re-look at the logic, but because I pencil marked correctly, I could just go through and do this. This 9 looks across, making this the 6. In this box, all I'm missing, I can take the 1 pencil mark, but I've got an 8 pencil mark. I haven't put an 8 in yet. So what have I got? This 6 looks across, making this 4, which of course resolves the 4, 6 pair. The 4 looks across, making this the 2, which of course resolves the 2, 4 pair. The 2 looks back, making this the 9, which resolves the 2, 9 pair. And that's the correct solution to the puzzle. Now, this took me 25 minutes, but I honestly think I could have solved this puzzle in about 6 minutes, maybe faster. But what I wanted to do is I really wanted to reinforce and explain basic Sudoku logic in case someone was coming to this as their very first video. And I think this would be an excellent introductory Sudoku puzzle. It is a very, very clean grid, and it explains some, I didn't know this when I solved it, but this puzzle absolutely teaches some fundamental, basic, classic Sudoku tricks in a marvelous way. And thank you, Raumplaner, for recommending it. This is exactly what I needed today. I hope you can find the joy in this puzzle that I find in Sudoku all the time. I've actually had some colleagues at work, who've said, so what is it about Sudoku you enjoy? And I'm going to recommend this puzzle and this video to them. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope this video I hope this video is something that is found by new people. And if you've got people who have asked you why you're interested in this hobby, please point them at this video. I think this would be a good one. Thanks everyone for watching, and as always, good luck with your solving.